Today, oh boy, there's a lot of darkness in this one, some serious violence. This is an entity that's going to ruin your Christmas, to say the least. Right, let's get into it. So the file says that the entity designated SCP-4666 is believed to be a single exceptionally long-lived humanoid of unknown origin. Now I say believed because the Foundation doesn't have any photos or recordings of this thing, they only have the testimony of the very few survivors to go on. The survivors describe him as about 2 meters tall, very old, very emaciated, and appears to be of European descent. Oh, and he's always completely naked, even when he's outside in the freezing cold with icicles hanging off of his... You get the idea. Now, while the SCP Foundation isn't too clued in on how this thing operates, they do know that it is capable of near instantaneous travel to any location north of 40 degrees north latitude, and they believe possibly to any location on Earth. Moving on, time to get into the dark stuff. Now, I know it's November, but we are talking about the Yule Man here, and on the subject of Christmas, I might just have the perfect gift for the knowledge-hungry, curious ones out there. This is the book, The Ultimate Guide to Rebuilding Civilization, a wonderful, fully illustrated book filled with our greatest achievements and inventions, from the discovery of penicillin to the invention of the combustion engine. A detailed manuscript, if you like, on starting our species all over again. As you can see, a lot of thought and a lot of money went into the overall quality of this thing. It raised over $2 million on Kickstarter and was one of their biggest projects. It's big, we've got a lovely laminated hardcover and all these beautiful technical illustrations on matte art paper. Now, important to say, this is much more than just another history or science book. It's a time capsule filled with what we have accomplished and how to do it all again, that makes you curious to learn more and explore new ideas. It offers you knowledge and inspires deeper thinking. I mean, take this section here. We've got a detailed step-by-step set of instructions on how to deal with and survive a catastrophic epidemic. It's even got a section on a primitive form of vaccination, but it's juxtaposed with this amazing Middle Ages plague doctor and Renaissance illustrations. It's almost a bit melancholy, because seeing the old-timey plague doctor and reading this almost modern-day information, it makes you wonder just how different the outcome of the Black Death might have been had the doctors in their masks and robes had this library of information to hand. How many millions might have lived? There are sections on the basics of making fire, finding water in barren places, knowing what plants are safe to eat, and making rope, all the way up to gunpowder and oil refinery. There's even a section on condoms and sex toys. And again, just check out these illustrations. As a fellow artist, these are just wonderful to look at. They are detailed, intricate, and you can just tell that a lot of care and love went into this. So if you have a curious mind or need a gift for a smart friend, consider this treasure trove of knowledge and curiosity alongside 400 pages of detailed technical illustrations. If the ultimate guide to rebuilding civilization has piqued your interest like it did mine, follow my link below. So SCP-4666 operates within a period of time known as its active phase. This event begins on the night of December the 21st or 22nd and concludes on the night of January the 1st or 2nd. This event happens every single year, and this phase is termed a Weihnacht event. During a Weihnacht event, 4666 appears at one or multiple dwellings. In all recorded cases, the dwellings have shared the following characteristics. They are all in isolated rural locations, so he's not about to pop up in the middle of suburbia. They are home to a family with at least one child younger than 8 years of age, and they are situated in a location with snow cover that lasts the entire duration of a Weihnacht event. So there's the tip sheet on how to avoid this thing. From night 1 to 7, the kids will report seeing 4666 loitering around their dwelling. Typically, it will be watching the house from the far end of a field or from within the edges of a neighbouring forest. A few survivors even claim to have witnessed the bone-chilling scene of waking up to see the guy watching them sleep through their windows. From nights 8 to 11, the family will begin to hear footsteps coming from the roof or the attic. Of course, investigating it reveals nothing. There's no one and nothing to account for the noise, and so the family will assume their house is haunted or they are being stalked. Oh, and a god-awful odour will begin to linger in the air too. And finally, night 12, and this is where the real shit happens. So, two scenarios can occur. Scenario 1, the bad ending in this campaign, occurs thusly. Mr. 4666 kills the whole family except one child. That one child will then be abducted, but they must be under 8 years old. The family members will firstly be incapacitated by any number of gruesome injuries, and then all herded into a single room, where they will then be tortured and brutally murdered in view of each other. The method of murder varies, but is believed to serve an unknown ritualistic purpose. The second scenario, the good one, I guess, is rare. It's only happened in 15% of recorded events, and it unfolds like so. Firstly, no member of the family is harmed. They will report hearing footsteps throughout the night, before waking up in the morning to discover the children have been left a number of presents. You might think that is quite lovely and sheds a new light on the entity. Well, those presents are crudely constructed toys made from the remains of the children it has abducted. Yeah, not so pleasant now, huh? Now, before we get into all the gross shit this thing has done, let's see what the Foundation are doing about it, and surprise, surprise, it's not a lot. Containment-wise, there's nothing to lock up, so instead it just comes down to tracking and suppression. They've got bots and programs scouring the web and law enforcement channels monitoring for similar reports of stalking or haunting in relevant areas, especially those involving families. They've got containment teams prepped to be dispatched at a moment's notice to try and contain 4666, should they discover a Vice-Narc event, but evidently that hasn't been successful so far. Once the event has concluded, the Foundation will falsify all the evidence to make it look like a home invasion gone wrong, all the toys and bodies will be confiscated, and any witnesses will have their memories wiped. Now, a bit on this thing's history. 4666 was first detected in 1974, when a new Foundation initiative made the connection between several archived home invasion family murders. These cases all shared similar properties, like the requirements we now know as being necessary for a Vice-Narc event to occur, the ones we spoke about earlier. Further digging found more cases dating back to the 18th century. Even more digging found evidence to suggest Vice-Narc events dating back to the 1st century BC in Scandinavia, so this thing has been knocking about for a very long time. The Foundation has recovered fingerprints and hair samples, but strangely, the fingerprints show traits not found in humans, and the DNA in the hair is no genetic match to any known human or animal DNA, so this thing is very old and unique. Now that we know the Foundation are at a bit of a loss here, they don't know what it really is or how to stop it, let's look at what it has done, and this thing has left a very bloody trail. Location: Croatia. With the exception of one child who was abducted, a whole family was murdered. The victims were made to suffer greatly, there were paganistic elements to their killings, and an assisting archbishop claimed to believe the killings were part of a demonic ritual. Location: Canada. Again, one child was abducted and the rest of the family was killed. However, in this case, another child survived by managing to escape and leg it to the nearby village. If this hadn't happened in the 1600s, that kid would have likely grown up to star in a Netflix documentary. The kid claimed a naked man had entered the house and tortured everyone. Authorities later found the family hanging upside down with all the blood drained out of them. Location: Germany. All but a 3-year-old boy, who was abducted, were murdered. Both parents and 5 other children had been taken to the adjoining stable and fixed to the walls by having knives and pitchforks shoved through their hands. The children and parents then had their tongues ripped out and the blood used to draw unknown patterns on some of the animals. But the animals were not harmed. The dad had noticed footprints in the snow prior to the event. Location: the Soviet Union, and this one is particularly nasty. So a 4-year-old was abducted, but the parent and another child had been restrained and had their feet held over the living room fire until the flesh had burnt off and the bones were revealed and scorched black. They then had their heads crushed, they were bitten all over, and then, randomly, a number of fir branches were placed on their bodies. Location: Norway. A 5-year-old girl was abducted this time. The rest of the family, consisting of both parents and 2 more children, were taken down to the basement. 4666 then ripped off at least one of their limbs with brute force and used the removed bones to stab them all to death. It then disemboweled the family, cut their intestines into pieces, and made them form circles around the bodies. And it also squeezed the literal shit out of their bowels to draw symbols on the walls. And finally, we come to Iceland. Another 4-year-old girl was taken, and the family... Oh man, okay, this one gets rough. So they were flayed this time. Chunks of skin were missing from their backs, their necks, and their groins. Some of the missing skin was found to have been ingested. And just to say, they were still alive at this point. So 4666 skinned a child and then forced that kid's own skin down its own throat. The family were finally killed by being decapitated, and their heads were put on the stairs of the house in descending order of age. And breathe. Let's look at some of the toys. Found in Finland, a small wooden drum. The drum's skin is made from the skin of a human child and stretched with thread made of human tendons. Found in Wales, a small knife made from a single piece of bone belonging to a human child, with a number of unknown symbols carved into the handle. Found in Kazakhstan, a flute made from the hollowed out femur bone of a human child. It had been dyed red with blood. Found in Michigan, a wooden box with a dozen miniature human-like figurines made from the finger bones of human children, tied together with strips of human tendon, and decorated with torn human hair and ripped clothes. DNA testing revealed the bones, hair, and tendons to have come from 18 separate children. Found in Canada, a ball. 19 layers of stretched human child skin were wrapped tightly around the desiccated head of a 2-year-old boy and held together with resin. And finally, found in the Netherlands, a hairbrush. The handle was a poorly carved piece of wood, but the bristles were actually the baby teeth of 43 separate children. The age of the teeth varied from a few days to over 400 years. By now you might be thinking, Connor, this surely can't get any worse. Well, dear viewer, I present to the gallery Addendum 466601. After the conclusion of one such Weihnacht event, a surviving family discovered the most intriguing gift left for them. A life-size crudely made doll made from the emaciated body of a little girl, of which the following mods had been installed. A dress made from multiple pieces of dirty torn clothing had been sewn around the body and, of course, in some places sewn into the girl's skin. The mouth had been sewn shut with human tendons and the lips stained red with blood. The removed fingernails of another child had been glued to the child's fingers. 3 of the girl's fingers had been bitten off. The scalp had been ripped off and the scalp of another child had been stitched in place. And the cherry on the cake, the girl's eyes had been gouged out and 2 stones with eyes painted on them had been placed into the empty sockets. And do you want to know something else? She was still alive! She was airlifted to the nearest hospital where she survived for another 18 hours. The Foundation were on this like flies on shit and managed to interview the girl before she died, before then confiscating her body, all the evidence, and wiping everyone's memories. DNA tests confirmed her identity and she was a known missing child. During her captivity, she had been exposed to extreme malnourishment, so much so it had stunted her growth. Not only that, she was covered in burns, scars, her hands were heavily calloused, and a number of her bones had been broken and then improperly healed. Finally, she died from multiple organ failure deemed to be a result of severe sustained malnourishment. Now we lucky viewers have access to the interview log because we haven't suffered enough, so let's digest it. So she managed to regain consciousness 30 minutes before dying, and the medical staff were kind enough to remove the tendons keeping her mouth shut. And despite being dosed up to the eyeballs on morphine, she was largely coherent during the interview. She revealed that she witnessed the torture and murder of her parents and 2 siblings before 4666 then stuffed her into his bag, along with several other abducted children. She was then taken to other houses where she heard other families being murdered before another child was stuffed into the bag. When the interviewer pressed her for where 4666 took them, all the victim could manage to explain was that it was somewhere deep underground. She says it was so cold she couldn't sleep, and that everything was mud, ice, and bones. There were dozens of other abducted children down there who all appear to have had their own little holes to work in where they made children's toys from the remains of other children. If the children refused to make the toys or fell asleep even, 4666 would punish them by beating them, burning them, or biting off their fingers. Remember that this girl is missing 3 of her fingers. In extreme cases, 4666 would cook the children over a fire and then eat them. When the interviewer asks how the victim came to be in the state she is in, she reveals she got sick and that 4 other children were forced to do this to her, with a final haunting statement, quote,
"I get sick. When you can't make the toys, you become the toys."
So yeah, happy Christmas everyone. Enjoy your gifts and hold your family close. You can support me on Ko-Fi, and please leave a like and subscribe if you made it this far, it really helps the channel. Big up the patrons and special thanks to Viger, Zehex and Andre Bashert.